Let's talk about something I think pretty much everyone can relate to. That feeling of being totally, completely drained, but you just can't figure out why. Well, in this explainer, we're going to get into the real science behind that constant mental exhaustion.
This quote from psychiatrist Dr. Sanil Reg just hits home, right? It perfectly captures how frustrating this is. You think you're doing everything right, you're getting tons of sleep, but it's just not moving the needle. You wake up feeling like you haven't rested at all.
So that really is the million-dollar question we're tackling here. If just getting more hours in bed isn't the answer, then what is actually going on inside our heads? Well, the answer is a little more complex and, honestly, way more fascinating than you might think.
The thing is, we're all kind of caught in this modern fatigue trap. Our lives today, they're set up in a way that creates a very unique kind of exhaustion, one that our grandparents probably never had to deal with.
You know, we throw around the word tired for everything. I'm tired, we say, but it could mean a dozen different things. And here's the key. If we just lump it all together, we can't find the right fix. We've got to break the problem down to solve it.
All right, so let's peel back the layers here. It turns out that feeling of being tired actually has a few different faces, and each one has its own specific cause and its own signature in our brain.
Okay, first up, the classic, brain fog. And this isn't just, being a little forgetful. It's a real state of cognitive dysfunction. It's that awful feeling where your thoughts are just slow and soupy, and you know the word you're looking for, it's right there, but you just can't grab it. So frustrating. Next up, we've got decision fatigue. Just think of your brain's ability to make choices like a muscle. Every decision you make all day, from what to eat for breakfast to some huge call at work, it's like doing a rep, and eventually that muscle just gets totally worn out, and your brain starts taking shortcuts, which, often leads to some not-so-great choices.
And finally, there's this one, directed attention fatigue. Now, what's so wild about this one is that the exhaustion comes from the effort of not doing things. Your brain is burning a ton of energy just to ignore the constant pings, the background noise, all the distractions, just so you can stay on task. That constant filtering, it is incredibly draining.
So here's a quick recap to pull it all together. You've got brain fog, where you just can't think straight, decision fatigue, where making another choice feels impossible, and directed attention fatigue, where you just can't focus. When you see them laid out like this, it's pretty clear they're different problems, and they're going to need different solutions.
And all of this leads to this crazy paradox that Dr. Reg talks about. It's the feeling of being wired and tired at the exact same time. It's this state where your brain is completely overstimulated and somehow also completely exhausted.
It's this bizarre tug of war happening inside your head. On the one side, you're wired. You feel hyper, your thoughts are racing, you're restless, you just can't switch off at night. But on the other side, you're tired. You're exhausted, foggy, you have zero energy to get started. You're just stuck in the middle, with an engine that's revving like crazy, but a gas tank that's totally empty.
So when doctors try to figure this out, they don't just guess. There's actually a process, kind of like a detective. First, you have to rule out all the physical stuff, like iron levels or thyroid issues. Then you look at things like caffeine or alcohol. After that, medications. And it's only when all of that is checked and rest still doesn't fix it that you get to the final and often the most important piece of the puzzle, the brain's arousal system.
So if the problem is often this overactive arousal system that's just stuck in the on position, what does that actually look like inside the brain? Let's put on our lab coats for a second and get into the hard science.
Okay, get this. This is fascinating. A recent fMRI study basically gave us a window into the tired brain. And what they found was that when we're mentally exhausted, the signals coming from our prefrontal cortex, that's kind of like the brain's command center, they actually change how another part of the brain, the insula, does its job of weighing the pros and cons of doing something. So think about what that means. It's not just that you feel less motivated. It's that your brain's actual cost-benefit analysis shifts. That same exact task that seemed totally worth it in the morning, your brain now sees it as just not worth the energy. Your own biology is actively telling you to just not even try.
All right, understanding the problem is one thing, but the big question is, what do we do about it? Because this isn't about just trying harder or having more willpower. It's about taking a systematic approach to get your brain's energy systems back in working order.
And I absolutely love this metaphor from Dr. Reg. He says to think of fatigue like a massive traffic jam on a 4-lane highway in your brain. You can't just honk the horn and force your way through it. No, you have to clear each lane one by one to get things flowing smoothly again. So lane 1 is all about calming that wired, hyper-alert part of the brain. The whole goal here is to signal safety, to turn down the volume on those constant alarms. We're talking about really practical stuff, like having a consistent wake-up time to get your body clock on track, and better sleep hygiene, putting the phone away before bed, so your brain can actually power down. You've got to turn off the alarm before the repair crew can come in.
Okay, lane 2. This one's all about supporting the CEO of your brain, that prefrontal cortex. You do this with strategies like breaking down big, scary tasks into tiny little micro goals so it's not so overwhelming, or getting in some brisk exercise in the morning to give your brain that hit of dopamine it needs for focus. It's all about giving the boss the tools it needs to do its job right. Now, lane 3 is all about motivation. When you're this tired, your brain can kind of forget what it feels like to feel good, so you have to intentionally wake up that reward circuit again. And a really powerful way to do this is a technique called behavioral activation. Basically, you schedule small, enjoyable things into your day, even if you don't feel like it, just to remind your brain what pleasure and a sense of accomplishment feel like.
And finally, we get to lane 4, and this is the deep work. This is about addressing the root programming that taught your brain to be on high alert in the first place. For a lot of us, this wiring comes from stuff that happened early in life. The goal here is to update those old survival programs that just aren't helping you anymore. Things like using breath work to calm your body from the bottom up, and reframing perfectionism not as a flaw but as an old survival skill that you can now let go of.
Wow. I mean, that quote just says it all, doesn't it? If you don't heal the original reason your nervous system learned to be in a constant state of emergency, it's just going to keep burning through fuel no matter how much you try to rest.
And really, if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. That feeling of being completely exhausted, it is not a sign that you are weak or that you are failing. It is a biological signal. It's your brain giving you really, really important feedback about what's going on.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Instead of fighting that feeling of fatigue, what if you just listened to it? What is that signal really trying to tell you about what your brain and your body truly need right now?